Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV 7 in Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey, friends, will you join me for just a minute and imagine how fabulous you'd feel living the unique and distinct life that you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can my friend Aryk Grosz. And he's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance. But before we bring him on, I'd like to share a poem we wrote to thank him for being our guest star today. It's called Fueling Life, Powering Change. And it goes like this. From vision bold to missions true, Aryk builds what lifts us through. With Powersludge and mindful care, he shows the world how lives repair. Fueling life, powering change, innovation shapes his stage, mentoring minds, fueling growth. He sparks new ways to empower them both. So hear his story, clear and strong, where purpose drives and hearts belong, powering change and fueling lives on the Something Significant show, where purpose thrives. Hey, Aryk, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Why don't you get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world?
Yeah, so now I'm launching a new direct-to-consumer um, e-commerce brand called Powersludge. It's a superfood organic oatmeal with 14 organic ingredients in it. And it really came about as a way for me to get all the kind of nutrients and collagen and all the different functional foods I need in a daily basis. Um, I find myself to be very much into fitness and longevity, and this is the oatmeal I made for people like myself.
Now, just give the audience the top 5, 6 health benefits that they can expect by eating, by
Yeah,
replacing their supplements with your oatmeal, actually, right?
yeah, indeed. And so what we did was we've added a lot of items that you typically don't find in oatmeal, like pistachios, Brazil nuts. So some of the things that you can get from Power Sludge is your daily recommended dose of selenium. You can get your vitamin C from the goji berries, lutein, zeaxanthin for your eyes to prevent macular degeneration. We have also collagen protein. We have an organic source of collagen protein from grass-fed cows, and that helps with joints. So for people with joint pain, it
Mm.
also help with hair and nails, and there's a lot of science behind that. We also have added some,
Is it gonna grow hair back on this beautiful head of mine?
I don't think it quite does that, but it definitely can help make it stronger.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of a big, those are the kind of ideas with the power sledge.
Now, then a couple other things I think not I wouldn't say on the side, but tell us a little bit about your love for mentoring and sharing your experience, and also your health and wellness advocacy. Give us a couple of minutes on each of those.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess you could say. I started another company called Mixbook almost 20 years ago now when I graduated from UC Berkeley. And during that period, I had to move abroad to Eastern Europe. I moved to Moldova, and there I created a second office for Mixbook in Moldova, and I did a lot of talks to to the youth there, to people in the IT industry, to kind of show them about how to launch a business, not necessarily a tech business, but
Mm.
also any kind of business, and how to hire employees, and how to scale, how to attract funding for it. So that's I did a tons of presentations when I was there. That was really a great experience for me.
Yeah, yeah, very good. And health and wellness advocacy. What's that about?
Yeah. So, it's interesting because I kind of got my footing in Silicon Valley. I went to UC Berkeley, and Mixbook was built mostly in San Jose and Palo Alto. And out there, people are very much into their health. They are biking or they're running. Um, and they have a lot of, they're always on the cutting edge, so to speak, of whatever new technological innovation there is for health. For me, was surrounded by that. So I really kind of internalized this idea that, we don't have to, obviously everybody gets older. And um, but there are ways to slow down aging so that you can live a richer, fuller life into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and
Yes,
hopefully
sir.
100, right? And that's, I
Yep.
think, we're starting to see more people reaching 100 today. And I think it's
Yep.
obviously the trend's going to continue, especially with the medical innovation that we have today. So my interest really came about like how do I feel better on a daily basis, but how do I kind of
Yep.
think longer term? And what do I
Yep.
need to do today to allow me to have the best, most fulfilling life over the longer term, not just over optimize for the next few years?
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought about this many months ago, actually, and I came up with this idea that if you're putting energy into health and wellness, then you're going to be better than you otherwise would be. So we are going to age.
Yeah.
You're a lot younger than me. I'm in my mid 60s now, and
Yeah.
aging does happen. But when you're putting energy in, I'm a lot healthier than I otherwise would be without all those interventions and efforts along the way. And
Yeah.
so I commend you for commend you for thinking about this at a younger age.
Yeah.
That's really the key. If if
Yeah.
if you stop the disease and the destruction before it happens, it's a lot easier to keep it going.
Yeah. And it's interestingly because a lot of the sort of ways to slow down aging or to just even feel better and to be healthier, they're not always found in a pill form, you know?
Correct.
Food and exercise always comes back to, you know, those are there for us.
Yep.
People can always go and exercise or lift some weights or play sport. They can always eat healthy
Yep.
foods, make that choice.
Yep.
And, it's really I feel it's like part of my job to kind of come here and show that hey, you can eat tasty food, you can enjoy eating, but you can
Yep.
also serve your body and give it the nutrients that it needs at the same time. Like those aren't mutually exclusive, and
100%.
and that's really part of the reason why we made Powersludge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was
Very good.
that was the case.
Yeah. Very good. All right, Aryk, let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's
Okay.
very simple, but it's super powerful. And it goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's
Mhm.
start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power that you need to get things done, whether it's physically or mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, Aryk, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take excellent care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others?
Yeah, and well, for me, the most one of the most critical things is sleep. That's
Mm,
where I get a lot of my power because I work really hard during the day, both physically and mentally. I do very intense workouts, and I need that sleep in order to be able to come back tomorrow stronger and better.
mm,
Uh, the other thing I do too to get my power is literally by power lifting
mm,
and weightlifting. And what that does in some ways is it is basically a controlled destruction of your body. Like when you weight
mm-hmm.
lift, obviously, as you know, you're tearing apart your muscles and you're decomposing your body. It actually sounds bad, but then the response to that, your body comes back stronger.
Yep.
And that's a big concept a lot in medicine is small injuries, right? And to come back better. Microneedling is kind of based on that concept as well.
Mm-hmm.
Things
Mm-hmm.
micro, you're harming yourself very small amount so that you come back stronger. So that's one of the ways I get my power. Um, and then of course through food, that's
Yeah.
another big thing for me is eating well, eating healthy. You'd be surprised. It's like when you eat something, when you regress and you go back to maybe some bad habits, you feel it right away. And anything from like oily food or too salty, you're like, man, I don't want to feel that way anymore. I want to feel good.
Right.
So
Right.
some things
Yeah.
on the power side.
Very good. All right, let's move on to my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this
Mhm.
beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements, we were just talking about small incremental harms, but
Yeah,
small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. It's so
yeah,
powerful because it's all about mindset, not circumstance. Mindset we can control, circumstances we can't.
yeah,
Kaizening life is knowing that I can always do something better tomorrow than today. It's a gentle, relentless, never ending force that keeps lifting my life higher day after day after day. So, Aryk, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can keep giving more and impacting more people's lives?
Yes. Could you, uh, so are you saying, is the question like, what is like a small thing that I improve on a continuous basis,
Yep.
so I can get better?
Yeah, Kaizening is employing small incremental improvements
Yep.
over time and keep adding and adding to those little improvements until you get great big results.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I think for me, I mean, one thing that comes to mind is my training, because I've been training for so long that the improvements now are kind of small. Like you're not going to be able to
Hmm.
double your weight every month after a certain point. And for me, a small improvement might be that on my next workout, I might do one more rep. I might do 3 sets of 12, and then I'll do the 13th rep on the last set. It's
Yep,
super small. And it's
yep,
like, it almost is like, but you knew what you did last week. You knew that
yep,
before you've done it. So you know you can do this much. And now you're just going for that little bit extra.
yep,
And when I think about how I get kind of ahead in life in terms of learning new skill sets, it's always about, okay, I know I've come this far, but what is that small thing I can do today to get better?
yep,
Um, and I'm a big YouTube guy. I'm always looking for new content, always learning something new. And I've noticed that my skill sets have drastically improved when I'm able to go and learn and put into practice something small to improve my skill sets for design, for
yep,
finance, et cetera, et cetera.
yep. And as I've learned this concept Kaizen, the actual word I learned 30, 40 years ago. I remember I was in a business meeting and I was in the lobby reading a magazine, and it was how the Japanese uh, took over Detroit
Hmm.
in the automobile industry. They were applying this concept of Kaizen and Six Sigma, I think was at the time as well, based on the same concepts. I said, oh, that's brilliant. We can always, there's always some little thing you can do to add on. Like you said, the one
Yeah,
more rep.
yeah,
But then it's Kaizen. What I've added to it is Kaizen and hold. So once you have that improvement, don't give it back. Hold
right.
on for dear life, because that way you can keep laddering up instead of yo-yoing, which is what happens so often.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's explore purpose. That's the second element of the formula. And I've observed that the big major life transformations, those great big discoveries of purpose, sadly often come through devastation. Addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster, something horrible strips a life to its core, and the result is some big, often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose in my life through inspiration. So how about you, Aryk? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the God-given purpose you were meant to live?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one thing, but I can definitely talk about how I came about this new idea for my company. And for Powersludge specifically, I was actually making this oatmeal for myself, because I needed some way to efficiently uh, get real organic foods like on a daily basis, my collagen, my psyllium husk, soluble fiber. And I was working on another startup at the time which was just I mean, I was doing all the programming work and I was working nights and weekends all around the clock and for many years. And it was a location-based social app. And while I was doing that, I kind of came up with the Powersludge formula. And so in this like middle of this just droning work of just like literally standing at my desk for 10 hours a day coding and just running through mental gymnastics all the time. Um, you know, when I finally put that idea on the back burner, I kind of looked at what I had and I said, okay, I have Powersludge. Let me see if other folks want this as well. And it turns out that they do. So that's been, I guess, one kind of I would say trial and tribulation that allowed me to kind of come out of it with something positive.
A happy accident.
Yeah.
And then, so talk, it's really funny that you mentioned that because I'm embarking on something very similar right now that hasn't been introduced to the world yet. And it was also by accident trying to help a friend who is building this great big giant museum down in Pittsburgh, Texas.
Mhm.
And he invited some people over to show him around his fine art museum. And it took him 3 hours. And the guys just turned 80. And I said, Harry, you cannot be, doing these kind of tours one after another. It's going to kill you. So
Yeah.
he and I have been working on a brand new interactive innovation for online cell phone activated audio museum tours.
Okay.
And it's a complete accident. It's just by doing something to serve someone else, just like with you and your Powersludge. But then talk to the audience about the leap that it takes to say, okay, I can turn this into a business, because most people don't do these kind of crazy things that we're talking about. They have the idea, but they don't bring the idea to life.
Yeah. Well, the first step was have other people try it, right?
Yeah.
So I would actually go and buy those 14 ingredients, measure it all out with scoops, come up with the formula, try it out, give it to my sister, give it to my mom, my dad, say, what do you guys think? And then once I sort of stabilized and finalized it with them, at least the formula, I would move on to my friend circle, right? And I would have them, I'd go over their house, I'd bring some strawberries. I'm like, here, add some strawberries, add your favorite milk. What do you think? What can I make better? And so there's definitely that period there before kind of coming out with it. And then of course, we didn't want to just come out with, we add a lot of cinnamon, which gives the Powersludge its darker look. And so the name kind of came around as almost like just being a little bit fun, right? With it, it was something we don't want to take too seriously, even though obviously health is very serious. We wanted to sort of offset that, but there's a lot of know-how and a lot of experimentation that went into making Powersludge what it is today. So yeah, that period took a long time. Like I actually bought a food processor so that I could like chop nuts, and then I'd measure out like with my friend, like, okay, how much should we chop? Okay, we over chopped it. Like one time we chopped it so much we made like like basically a nut butter.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we did it completely from scratch and optimized it from there.
You made me think of something else that I think would be good for our audience to hear. You said, we wanted it to be fun.
Yeah.
Creating something from scratch and developing real success does not have to be grueling. And in fact, if it's grueling, you're probably doing the wrong thing. So talk a little bit about your lessons in your business journey and infusing fun and camaraderie and joy into the whole process.
Yeah. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, if anybody started a company before and has run it for at least a year or two, you'll probably understand that like you have to find those things in the business that are really motivating and inspiring and give you a lot of joy, because a lot of it is tough. A lot of it is just a lot of droning work that just needs to get done, from licensing to payroll to taxes. Those things are not quote unquote fun. So you better really want to do what you're doing. And that's the best advice I can give, because if I was just doing like a Me Too oatmeal, I wouldn't be able to kind of do it. I'd be like, okay, why am I different? What am I really bringing to the table? What doesn't exist today? And for me, I have to feel like I'm pushing something forward, like I'm pushing the ball forward a little bit.
Yeah. Very good. All right, Aryk, thanks for all that. Now let's take a commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Aryk Grosz. He's a visionary entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Powersludge, a cutting-edge nutrition product changing how people fuel their bodies. Aryk has built companies from idea to success, inspiring others to think big and act boldly. His passion for innovation and dedication to mentoring future leaders makes his story one of resilience, creativity, and purpose-driven impact. Aryk, in all my research, I just love your entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. Aryk, it says that the simple act of giving can become a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. And the science confirms it. It says when we give our time, our talents, and our treasure, it doesn't just help others, it transforms us too. It helps us overcome obstacles, it helps us find meaning, and it helps us discover our purpose. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy.
Mhm.
So how about you, Aryk? Has giving your time, talents, and treasures been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting through the hard times and hardships and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of think back to those times where I was a mentor for different startup programs, and it was like for me, a lot of the things felt like because they were ingrained in me so much, you don't even realize a lot of times that just having a conversation with somebody who's just starting their career or anything of that nature, you're like embarking so much on them. And every word out of your mouth is like something unique for them. To you,
Mm-hmm.
it might feel like just commonplace, like, well, of course that's obvious. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but to other folks, it's not. And so that was one of the most, I guess, rewarding things was when I would give a talk about programming. I was teaching Ruby on Rails to university students, and it was just really fun to figure out how to because for me it was like I've been coding at that point for a decade or plus, so it was like
Mm-hmm.
all simple. It was all really like 2 + 2 = 4 to me, but to other people who was brand new, it was challenging. And so how can I make it easy for them to understand? And so I would actually come up with like interesting scenarios that were pertinent to their life, like, hey, you go and you go on a date and you meet somebody and then you split the check and here's this formula that splits that and then whatever it is. So that was really fun. But yeah, that's kind of that's for me one of the biggest things is the mentoring and the talks that I've given.
Yeah, and you mentioned something. It's when you said it's easy for you, but it's brand new to somebody else. Same thing like a car mechanic.
Yeah,
I can barely put gas in the car. And
yeah,
so I take my car and somebody says, oh, it's the carburetor, and it's like magic. But
yeah,
not to him. He was born to be a mechanic, and
right,
it's secondhand to him. And
yeah,
so I think what you were expressing is that's how you live when you're in your purpose. And
yeah.
then when you're giving from that, the science tells us that giving to others helps bring real meaning to our own lives. And the joy that we feel from our fourth element of significance, as I define it, doing work that creates value for others. It confirms it. It's all a part of this same soup. But there's something more to it than just the giving, I think, Aryk. The real magic of life comes when you're giving from living in your purpose, because that's when joy flows. And I can see it in your face when you're talking about it. And it's not just to the receiver, but it's to the giver too. And even to people just witnessing the giving, they get joy.
Mhm.
So Aryk, I'd love our audience to witness what that magic looks like in your life. So I invite you to sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making on their lives by finding the magic of giving from living in your purpose. One person said, working with Aryk Grosz was an exceptional experience that genuinely stands out in my career. Another said he's dedicated to delivering the best possible experience for his clients. And another, Aryk cares deeply about the things he's involved with and the people he works with. Others said an extremely unusual guy, extremely stubborn too, yet one of the smartest and most deeply philosophical people I know. He's refreshingly inclusive, encouraging, and nurturing. creative, dedicated, empowering, passionate, collaborative, innovative, infectious, ambitious, and talented with big picture vision. He has technical prowess, business acumen, and smarts. He's charismatic, professional, and incredibly motivating. He drives his teams to achieve excellence, and he's really fun to work with too. He's the kind of guy to show up at your house and help you build a bunk bed for your kids, who shows up when you have a baby to congratulate you. He was the first person outside my family to hold each of my kids after they were born. Aryk was one of the few people pushing boundaries, bringing international energy, and believing in Moldova's entrepreneurial potential before it was fashionable. And finally, this person said, Aryk Grosz turns personal passion into businesses that make a difference. So Aryk, how's all that incredible love make you feel?
Amazing. That's a handful for sure. So many things in that, so many experiences, and some of it I remember too. So that was really cool. Thanks for that.
Well, very good. And that's it, folks. That's what this show is all about. We're here, Aryk and me and all our guest stars, to encourage you, our listeners, to find that same magic in your lives. It's available for each of us. That's what I believe. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasures is the powerful pathway to discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings profound joy to your life. And you can just see it in Aryk's smile, but to the lives of those around you too. So it seems that giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So Aryk, to capture the full, being a programmer, to capture the full exponential power of our happy formula, I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. To power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Yep. Sounds perfect.
Very good. All right, my friend, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and ask you, just tell us what comes to your mind straight away. And not, some people get confused. There has to be a short thing, but no, just the first thoughts that come to your mind. Okay. Yeah, because we call this a lightning round.
All right.
So here we go. This is from Albert Schweitzer, and he said, I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve.
What like word comes to mind?
What thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking the purpose and the foresight to kind of go through and inspire other folks to reach their best. That's kind of the thought there.
Very good. This is from Robert Greene, and this should be right up your alley. Mastery is not a function of genius or talent. It's a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge.
Plus consistency. That's the thing that comes to mind there.
Yeah.
So the mastery is, there's a certain amount of time that's required over a longer period of time. And it's not just about it's about sticking to something. That's the big thing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is from Mark Nepo. I love this one. It says, the flower doesn't dream of the bee. It blossoms and the bee comes.
Yeah, I think for that, it's don't try to please others and just stay on your path and do what you feel is right. Even if it's not always the most popular thing or it's not in style. And you'd be surprised that a lot of times when you do that, you find that people are drawn to you and they just love what you're putting out there. So
it gives me goosebumps. That's just, it's be yourself, right? Bring it all, bring all that you are, just be the flower in this case.
Yep.
You mentioned this earlier, but so this is from Jack LaLanne, the great Jack LaLanne. He said, exercise is king, nutrition is queen, put them together and you've got a kingdom.
Yeah, I think that's true. I would also add that the sleep part of it is also really important. And I'm not sure how to put that into the kingdom, but maybe that's the court jester or something like that. I don't know. It's the third thing in the
We
kingdom.
need, yeah, maybe, yeah.
I wasn't great at history, so I can't. I don't know
But
all the
you're
different.
right. You're definitely right, and I think that's interesting too. There's been a lot of study about sleep and science about sleep since Jack LaLanne's reign. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
I think we didn't know quite as much back then in those days, so he probably would have added it, or maybe he did anyways. This is from Paul Hawken. Do you know who he is?
No.
He was in your area. By the way, I went to UC Davis. My dad taught at UC Berkeley for years and years.
Oh,
So
cool.
we have that connection. But Paul
Nice.
Hawken was an entrepreneur back in the Bay Area. And this quote, I've had this on my bulletin board forever: go
Mhm.
deep into a specialty, get a customer, and make them happy.
Yeah, I I agree. I think that's absolutely the right formula. But one thing I would add to that is obviously devil's in details, but what it's important to understand too, like how many customers you can potentially get to in terms of at least for a business, right? It's not always about making one or two people happy. It's like, okay, this is actually a business too, and I think it's important to like weigh those two things together. And so
Mm-hmm.
the other interesting thing about business is that it's all really it's a fine, there's no right answer. You never want to tip the scale into one direction or the other, but you want to be thinking kind of short term and long term at the same time. You want to be thinking, okay, one SKU, but you also kind of want to be thinking, a couple of SKUs down, or like what you're going to offer later, right? Okay, my customer is really happy with this, but do I have a business there? Because also too, like once you start getting hiring people or taking investment, now you have promises you need to fulfill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then it becomes a different story. It's not just about those first few customers. So
Yeah.
those,
So you mentioned the word SKU, and for those that don't recognize that term, that means product, one product.
yeah,
Stock keeping unit actually is the word.
sure.
But then you also made me think as you were talking and answering that question, um, this question, yeah, go deep into a specialty, get a customer, make them happy. But then how do you scale and keep that personal customer attention? So
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on, it's easy to serve one customer, but how do you scale it and keep that attention and that
yeah,
service?
yeah, for sure. I think I like to stay very close to the product as it's being made, and I'm there for, every production run that we do for Powersludge, and also the messaging. People can see when they look at the Powersludge website that like, and in fact, I'm even on the first page of it. So I like to stay very close to it because it's a very personal product, and people can see that we're not just, some big corporate conglomerate that's just trying to push, some random oatmeal product. So I think that comes off in everything you do in your business ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And even our packaging, we have, we go above and beyond our packaging. We have like gold foil on our boxes. We have a thank you note that we put on every single box to tell the customer that we really thank their support. Thank you for their support. So
Mm-hmm.
we really own that aspect of our company, which is, we haven't been around for 30 years. We are relatively new in the
Mm-hmm.
space, and we do appreciate everybody's input and everybody's support.
Yeah, very good. All right, this is the last quote. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's our show anchor, and it's from Goff. And he said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind on that is, just get started, get started
Mm-hmm.
on your take action. I guess it's the whole thing about you want to be taking calculated actions, for sure, but you want to move as fast as possible once you have the bull by the horns.
Yeah. Yeah, but tell the audience just a little bit about the human nature to overthink, and you come up with a new idea for oatmeal, and well, big whoop. And,
Yeah.
oatmeal's been around forever. So how do you go from idea to action? Because that's really, I think that's what stops so many people. And the more you think about it, I think sometimes that's when, what a term I call gravity, that's when all the negativity comes in. oh, it's
Yeah,
just stupid. It's just oatmeal. It could never be, and it's expensive oatmeal. I mean, compared to what you'd buy in a supermarket. So are
sure.
somebody going to pay for that? And so you
Okay.
can easily talk yourself out of it. So tell the audience how you deal with that inner thought that might distract you from taking action and overcoming that to take the action.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
you can do, obviously, but let me kind of break it down into the few things that I did. So obviously, market research is a big one. How much are people buying D2C, direct to consumer, online? What are they buying? What would be a good metric if we hit that it would show that we have a viable business? Um, of course, the qualitative feedback as well from the early users is obviously really important. And then the other thing is having a circle of kind of trusted advisors. I don't know everything, and so I surround myself with people, a lot of them from Mixbook, who I've built relationships over time where I trust their opinion. They're successful business people from other tech companies that you've probably heard
Hmm.
of. And when I brought to them this idea for Powersludge, um, I had a couple ideas actually that I was thinking about in the health space, and I came with Powersludge and I was working on. I'm like, is it always a good idea to kind of take what you like and then try to productize it? And sometimes it works out great. Sometimes it also doesn't work. I mean, it does not. That's not the only thing you want to look at. But when I ran it by those people I trusted, they all had very positive responses to it,
Hmm.
and that kind of pushed me over the cliff a little bit to get started on it.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend anybody out there to surround, create that circle of
Yeah.
five trusted mentors in the
Yeah.
business space that you can lean on, because it'll save you so much trouble in the future.
Yeah.
And who knows? And a lot of times they can even help you. So it's really
Yeah.
important to communicate and get the have the conversations with the people that you trust early
Yeah.
on, so that
Yeah.
you kind of understand, like, all right, what are going to be the landmines in your way to getting this product out. And so if you already kind of know what the troubles might be, or what what uh, 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 what obstacles you might have, you better prepare to handle them. So
Yeah.
so having that has been really important for me.
Yeah, good advice. I have another friend, she calls those advisors her cavalry. And when she's got some big issue to deal with, she calls in the cavalry and they come and help her.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Aryk. And now, my friends, it's your chance to be a giver too. If today's show with Aryk Grosz inspired and motivated you, share some of that spark with our amazing team at WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage people that are in need. Every gift matters, big and small, because your generosity fuels real change. Together with your support and their tireless work, lives are being transformed and love is being multiplied. So donate today and be a part of something bigger than yourself. Aryk, I love your passion for innovation and how it fuels meaningful solutions that improve lives and build lasting relationships. And I admire your commitment to mentor others, to empower teams, and turn personal passions into world-changing ventures. And I'm super happy that you've shared your visionary, dedicated, and uplifting spirit on our show today. Will you take just a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Yeah, I would say, whatever it is that you aspire to do, maybe it's not always necessarily to start a company. Maybe you want to be a great musician someday, or you want to, start a band. It doesn't even matter what specifically, but having being regimented and being thoughtful about putting in the work every day and becoming, 1% better, even
Mhm.
less than 1% better every day. Just get better and put yourself to it. Now, on top of that, try to build yourself a plan and a program that you can actually hit. If it's about being a great guitarist, figure out a program for that. And so
Yeah.
for me, I love that, whether it's for working out or even for my company. I have goals both, for a couple weeks out to a couple months out. And um, and that helps me kind of stay on track. It's also very motivating when you reach those goals, because then you can look
Yeah.
back and say, this is where I was. And so one of the biggest pieces of advice I would say is, whatever you want to aspire to be better at, make sure there's a way to sort of measure the progress, And then you'll see how things are getting better over time. And that'll keep you motivated to keep doing that thing.
Right.
And so that's, I guess, that's one of the big things for me.
Very good. Thank you, Aryk. And friends, it's because of stories like Aryk's and listeners like you that we've just recently been named one of the top 100 life purpose podcasts worldwide, ranked at number 17. So thank you for supporting our mission and for sharing these stories of inspiration and purpose. I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Aryk and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Aryk Grosz. Check out all the health benefits you get from Powersludge and use Welcome 20 for $20 off your first order. And if you're working on your next big thing and think Aryk can help, introduce yourself to him via email. I saw that right on his LinkedIn, that invitation. So you'll find all these links in the show notes. From me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So wait no more. Go to happyliving.com and click Unlock Here. It could be the first step to unlocking the life you are meant to live, one filled with purpose and joy and real significance. And as you begin unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.
Cool.
We invite you to make a donation to support our mission of sharing uplifting stories.